Okay, very happy to be joined today by a man who was the Levels Fight League heavyweight champion, and after a super impressive Contender Series appearance in October, where he got his man out of there in just under 2 minutes, makes his UFC debut March 1st at the Apex. Mario Pinto, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you, man? Thanks for having me here,
I'm
Steve.
good, thanks. I'm good, thanks. We're 2 weeks out from the big day, the UFC
Yeah,
debut. How has the preparation been for this one? Has anything been increased compared to before, or has it been business as usual?
business as usual. Nothing different. It's just a different body, you know. Nothing changes.
Yeah, of course. Obviously the debut will be at the Apex. You've
Yeah,
been there before for the
yeah,
Contender Series. Is that beneficial? Do you feel kind of easing you into the UFC, or is there part of you where you're like, man, I wish it was the London card in a couple of weeks?
yeah. I prefer being in London car, so I don't have to travel. But I mean, right now I can't really. I'm just a beggar right now. I can't choose what I want. But I mean, I enjoy Vegas. Fighting in the Apex would be nice. At least this time I can have walkout music. But it's all the same to be honest. Like as long as there's a cage, I don't care where it is.
Is that walkout music a big deal for you? What's the song gonna be? Can you give anything away?
Oh, nah. You gotta wait for that one.
We'll wait. We'll wait and see. Yeah, I mean, the Contender Series fight back in October, I think a place where a lot of people first saw you. Some of us would have seen you over in Levels.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the broader audience, introduced to you back in October. Um, you got the job done very impressively that night to get you to this point. But how do you look back on that performance? I guess the thoughts, the emotions that come to mind when you think of that night.
The emotions, I was like, I won't lie, I was stressed, especially like with the magnitude and knowing who's watching. And I think like a contender series is much harder than like having a UFC fight, just because you can't just go in there and win. You have to win impressively. Obviously, you always want to impress, but you can't. There's a lot more pressure. You can't just go in there and get the W. You can win and still not get the contract, unfortunately. And you travel all that way. You have so much expectations from people, but that's the tough part.
Yeah. Obviously, Austen Lane is the opponent. He's the guy that's been in this spot a couple times where he's been the guy in front of the guy with the hype.
Yeah,
Obviously, back on the Contender Series, he fought Greg Hardy, but in his last fight against Rebellis to Spain, where he got the win, maybe Rebellis wasn't quite the guy that a lot of people thought he was.
yeah.
What were your thoughts on this matchup when the UFC gave it to you? And do you feel it maybe says something about how the UFC feel about you?
I think it's a good matchup. I think the UFC know what they're doing. I think like he's not. He's a decent guy. He's not. He's got power. He's athletic. He played college football and professional football in America in terms NFL, and he's experienced. He's 13-5. He's won fights. He's lost fights, and my record's getting up there now. I've had 9 fights so far. And the UFC have seen my game, so they want to put our games together, and see what happens.
Yeah, there is a certain, I think, expectation in the fan base, though. You look at the betting odds that will come out soon. You look at,
Yeah,
I think, when people are predicting this fight, it's almost unanimously for you. Do you feel added pressure because of that? I'm sure you've had expectation like that throughout your career as
yeah.
well, but to have that kind of expectation on this stage, how do you
I
feel
mean,
about being in that position?
I think it's normal, I already knew, I already expected this.
Yeah,
It's what I signed up for. And he's still dangerous, man. He's a guy who's lost before. They like a loss makes you so much better. So I'm not treating him any different. Like this is gonna be my hardest fight yet. He's a big guy as well. He can take people down. He's got power. So you gotta watch out for him. And with the whole betting situation, I don't really pay attention to that. It was the same with my contenders fight. I think I was the favorite, but I don't really pay attention to it.
yeah. What did you make of his last fight with Rebellis?
It was good, man. It was a smart thing to do. Like Rebellis is just powerful and he's very awkward. He throws very offbeat punches. But you gotta be careful for a big guy like that, 6'7", crazy wingspan. You know, so he just took him down and held him. Not much activity, obviously, and not like a fan favorite fight, but you know, he got the job done. You know, he knows how to win. That's something people don't give him credit for. You know, when someone wins by decision, they know how to win a fight. They don't have to just knock you out. You know, and sometimes you gotta just win by a point. Some guys are very hard to knock out. You know, and he's always clearly a strong guy because he held
Yeah.
Rebellis down. So, but hey, that strength comes with a cost.
Yeah. And obviously you're a guy that's kind of known for your power as well. You got a good mix of decisions and knockouts in there.
I ain't
Is
got
there
power. I ain't got no power. Who told you that? I ain't got no power, brother.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously that game plan from him, you've seen that, that's obviously what you got to be prepared for.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But obviously it's a big card, not just for your fight, and you are obviously Portuguese and it's a big
Yeah,
card
yeah.
in Portugal with Manel Cap in the main
Mario
event.
Cap, yeah, let's
Um,
go. It's annoying his opponent pulled out, and now he just got a new
Yeah, well,
one.
they got a new guy. They got a new guy. But I guess what does it mean to you to be able to, I guess, create a moment like that for Portuguese MMA when, I mean, there's not that many of you in the UFC. There's yourself, Manel, Jacqueline Cavalcante,
Yeah,
obviously Andre Fiallo was there before. But yeah, there's not that many of you. So to have two of you on the same card, what does that mean to you
I
and
think
kind
I
of
think that's
representing Portugal in that way?
I think it's great, man. I think it's a good idea. I think they know what they're doing. That's why I'm not fighting on the London card.
Yeah.
Probably made sense because when I saw, I'm fighting the same night Manuel's fighting, it was a good idea, you know, and it gives us a chance to represent where we come from, uplift like the talent coming up in Portugal, you know, because there's not many fighters as well as heavyweight. There's not really much heavyweight Portuguese fighters, especially. But I think it's great. You know, we've got one now on the main card, and soon probably definitely fighting for a world title.
Yeah, of course. Give us a bit of your background. Obviously, we say Portuguese there. If
Yeah,
people heard your voice, you don't sound Portuguese. I know you've
and
been in London for a long time, so
it was so funny when I was in the Contender series. When Laura Sanko, when I was doing the interview with her, they sent a translator to translate in Portuguese, and then the guy who looked at me, he's like, "Bro, you speak better English than me." I was like, "I don't need a translator, bro." It was so funny, but yeah,
how
I was born there. I was born in
yeah,
Portugal. I lived there for like 10 months, and then I moved to the UK.
yeah,
So I've grown up in London, but I've been back and forth with Portugal, you know, for a long time.
yeah. Obviously, this is the first time we've had you on the channel, so just give us a bit of that background. How did you end up finding MMA?
Oh, so I always watched it when I was young. Like I used to watch Strike Force with my dad a lot, and then I was watching K1, Pride, and then I just wanted to try MMA. So I went to an MMA gym when I was like 13, 14. Didn't really like it. Not that I didn't like the sport. I just think the coaching wasn't great. Where I went, they weren't very welcoming, so it kind of put me off. But it was always in the back of my mind that I wanted to do it. And then I was playing basketball for a bit, doing karate. I was doing a lot of boxing, and then when I turned about like 17, 18, when I was in college doing my A levels, I said I want to go back to an MMA gym now. And then it all kicked off from there.
Perfect. I got a bit of a quick fire segment here, so I'm just going to throw some quick fire stuff at you. Uh, Favorite food?
Can't ask me that. That's a tough one.
I mean, normally when I'm speaking to guys and they're a couple of weeks out from the
Yeah.
fight, I mean, I kind of feel bad asking this one because they're thinking
Yeah.
about the weight cut. But I mean, I feel like at heavyweight, there's a bit more leeway.
Ah, bro, I can eat anything, bro.
Yeah. Is there an answer there, or are we just skipping it altogether?
I'm trying to think now, man. It just depends on my mood.
Yeah. Well, right now it's 10:22 a.m. What are we going for
But I'm
breakfast today?
craving brownies, brother.
Brownies at
Yeah.
10:22 a.m. Cool.
Yeah.
Of course. Why not? Favorite drink?
Um, favorite drink. Monster Pipeline Punch.
I mean, I kind of touched on this one a minute ago, but go-to breakfast.
Say that again.
What's the go-to breakfast?
The go-to breakfast. My go-to breakfast. Got to be an English breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite movie?
Ooh, I'll say one of my favorite movies. It's gotta be Tropic Thunder. Yeah,
Good choice. Favorite TV show?
Sopranos.
Favorite musician?
Favorite musician. It's gotta be someone I listen to a lot. I'm trying to think. Probably like Hosier. I listen to him a lot.
Um, Favorite sport other than MMA?
Favorite sport and MMA. Are you talking about contact sport, like fighting sports or bar fighting?
Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Favorite sport and MMA. What would I do? I don't know. Probably wrestling.
Is it like Olympic or like
Yeah,
WWE?
Olympic wrestling. Yeah, nah, not WWE.
um, Favorite fight? Like favorite fight of your own, and then a favorite fight to watch as well.
Favorite fight of my own. Which was my favorite fight? Probably my 5 round fight in LFL against Kasim Aras.
Yeah, yeah.
Favorite fight to watch? I'd probably say. No, I got two, but I'll say probably GSP and Carlos Condit.
Favorite fighter?
Favorite fighter? George St. Pierre.
Favorite submission to practice?
Mm, Americano.
Funniest person you've met in MMA?
The funniest person I've met. Mm. I'm gonna have to. I don't know how to answer that one. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That one could annoy some people if you don't say them, so I get it. Best piece of advice you've been given?
um, be patient. Take it one fight at a time. I think I was when you're coming up in MMA, it's so unpredictable and you're trying to get fights too quick. Sometimes you have to protect. I heard this when I was in Ireland. I was in a camp for Johnny Walker. I was like 1-0 then, and he was fighting Jamal Hill. So we went over there to help him spar and stuff like that. And then one of his coaches was like, a lot of the times these young fighters are quick to take any fight. And then obviously, like, I understand you have to be a warrior, you have to go through, but sometimes it's too early to do that. And sometimes it's not worth taking unnecessary damage, especially on the early stages where you're barely making nothing, you're getting peanuts. And fighters just need to be more patient and take their time. And really, like, you got to protect your career, you know, because fighting itself is an opportunity. The sport is just an opportunity to make money, and then you have to make a career out of it. And you have to protect your image, your longevity, your brand as well. So I'll definitely say to fighters, like, take your time, pick the right fights, let your coaches, like, make sure you pick the right coaches, which I know it's hard. It's hard to do that, but you got to make sure that they're looking out for your best interest and not theirs.
Yeah, and just as you're saying that, I kind of looked over your record, especially earlier in your career, and there does seem to be kind of those breaks between fights where,
Yeah,
especially someone early in their career who's having the success that you're having,
yeah,
you wouldn't always see.
yeah. There was points I was like, should I just retire? Like, should I just call it a day? You know, just because I wasn't getting anything, and it's hard when you're seeing other fighters get fights. And then their career's going, but you got to remember that your journey is different to everyone else's. Your life is, you're just on a different path. Your time is different to everyone's time. It's your journey, it's your career. Like, even if someone's already in a big promotion, your time will come. Just keep training, keep going. keep going, and
Yeah,
everything's falling into fruition. Because I was getting like when I was like 3-0, I was getting offered to fight in other organizations,
mm,
but obviously it wasn't part of my plan. And the first thing that they were mentioning, they were like, was always the money. They're like, oh, come fight here and you'll make this and this, you know, because they know a lot of fighters are gonna get excited and be like, yeah, but that was never my plan. I was like, I don't really care about the money. I'm not that excited for the promotion, no matter how much they were giving me. And then I've obviously heard stories about like bad negotiations, and you go there and then it's not what it was set out to be. You know, one of those organizations aren't even around anymore. So you know, and I know they've messed up like their contracts for their fighters. So I just took my time and said, no, I have one goal in mind. It was always the UFC. It's the whole reason why I got into this. So I was like, I'll be patient. You know, if you want like good things will come to those who wait. You know, I waited for the best and I got the best.
yeah, and I mean, I think you've done it perfectly. It seems like people are getting signed generally earlier than ever to a major promotion. I mean, especially when you look at the Contender series, you're getting guys with like sometimes with like 4 or 5 fights on that.
Yeah,
Whereas, you've you've taken your time, you've got to 9-0, you've looked very dominant throughout your career, won the title in like a reputable European promotion in
yeah.
LFL, and then that's the time to take that next step.
I think as well what was important was I wanted cage time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's all like especially at heavyweight, you get all these guys when you look at their records, they're beating their opponents in the first round in 30 seconds. And
I
don't
mean,
get me
look at a
wrong,
guy we talked about earlier,
yeah,
Rebellis.
yeah. And that's all good, but they don't actually learn what it's like to be on the back foot. They never experience actual adversity in MMA. So they always get used to being the hammer. And then when they face it in real time, they struggle like when I fought Benjamin, um, in LFL defending my belt, he was like a last minute replacement. So I had to
Yeah.
pull out, and I had a very bad staph infection. But I still like I had to like make good decisions there. It was the first time I got hurt in my pro career quite bad, you know, and I had to persevere, get through being rocked, and then I managed to beat him. And then the same for my title fight, fighting 5 rounds for the first time, like going 5 rounds for the first time, and I felt fine after. You know, fighting someone who's experienced, who has a decent level of wrestling. That's the cage time I needed. Because once you go to these big shows, like I always say, it's you got to be ready for anyone. Sometimes there is no build you up. Like everyone is dangerous, especially when there's a lot more money on the line. People are going to be more dangerous. They're going to have more of a will to fight. They're not coming just to show up. They're coming to win.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you couldn't have said that any better, I don't think.
Yeah,
And just on that, you mentioned Johnny Walker there. Got to
yeah.
be up there for the funniest person you've met in MMA.
Yeah, he is pretty funny to be fair. He's got some
Yeah.
jokes.
Yeah.
Cool guy though. It's cool guy. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean that. Thanks for taking the time today.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
welcome, man.
Finally, give us the hard sell. March 1st, when we all tune in, UFC Fight Night. What can the people expect when yourself and Austen Lane lock horns?
I'm gonna step forward, march forward, and stay on him and drown him. Put his head at the bottom of the pool and leave him there.
Looking forward to watching. Not a good night to be Austen Lane, if that's the case. Yeah, I want to thank you for taking the time today, Mario. Best of
You're
luck.
welcome, Steve. Thank you. I appreciate as well. You giving the platform for fighters to speak and get their message out and helping people know who they are. So I really appreciate that, man. There's not a lot of people
Of
doing that.
course. Yeah, of course. Thanks. That's great to hear. Yeah, and I mean, I try to do as many as I can on Violent Money. There's a few of us guys running the ship over here, so
Yeah, it's good,
yeah.
man.
Thanks. Yeah, and thanks. Best of luck. I'm very excited to see this debut. It's been a little while coming, but as you said, perfect time, right?
Perfect time.
Cool.
All right.